I'm gonna be very honest with you in this video. I've recently had a rough realization with myself, and it's something that I've known for a while, but it's only recently genuinely dawned on me about just how far I've taken this. And well, yeah, I know that I'm still obviously actively in the pursuit of my dreams, but by giving myself a moment to reflect, I've also come to the realization about just how real everything has gotten for me up until this point. I still remember when I was only just dreaming about this and when I was mainly focused on just self-improvement rather than business and entrepreneurship overall. I started off by taking even just the tiniest steps, and I remember the first few things I did was going to the gym for an hour a week or reading 10 pages of a book each day, something like that. It was just the tiniest little habits that sort of took me to the first step into self-improvement and later on into entrepreneurship. Back then, honestly, I thought I was doing pretty well reading 10 pages of a book each day and going to the gym an hour a week. And I thought that I was doing enough, that I was focusing on myself, that I was improving myself to build a better body and to build a better mind. And well, that's great. I don't even know how I got to this point, but it's come so far to the point where I now dedicate at least 10 hours a day into my business and my projects, plus 9 hours of school that I need to fit in as well, with those 10 hours of just pursuing my goals each day. And even that alone I feel like is not enough, which is kind of funny because in the beginning I thought that 1 hour of working out a week was doing good, right? And now that's just an awful standard for me. And yeah, I know that I'm in the absolute beginning of this journey. Even though I got into self-improvement around 2 years ago, I really only got into business around one and a half years ago. I do think that transitioning from self-improvement to business and entrepreneurship was the biggest and major step that pushed me so far ahead, and so much so to the point where there was literally no going back for me. Self-improvement taught me the basics of discipline, and it taught me to find peace with myself, to sort of discover this side and this notion of life where I'm just focused on my self-development and where I'm focused on developing a sense of maturity for my age. And that's great, right? Like I focused on that for a bit, and it improved me in the beginning, and it was the necessary step at that time. But then when I got into business and when I got into entrepreneurship, it didn't only intensify the self-improvement aspect of things, but it completely changed the way that I saw life and the way that I saw myself. I had only really gotten into self-improvement in the beginning because I just wanted to be a better version of myself, and I wanted to have a better physique and just be a better version of myself. But I've taken it so far to the point where there's nothing else in life for me that makes sense apart from the pursuit of my fullest potential. Because in the absolute beginning, when I got into business, I was really just looking to make some money, right? The idea of making quick money like that online without having doing much, it just sounded fun to me. But as I learned more, there was this obsession that grew alongside my steps. And the more it grew, the more I learned, it sort of unveiled the darker side of entrepreneurship that's honestly sort of traumatizing, but also in a good way. It started off with just a bit of curiosity, right? But as I learned more and more, I started questioning everything around me because nothing really made sense, honestly. I saw people online that were living their dream lives and that were able to do whatever they want whenever they want. And then I took a look around me and I was kind of disgusted. How was it that there were people around in the world who were able to do all of these things, but what I was seeing around me was that everybody was just working to get a paycheck to cover basic expenses? And seeing those two perspectives, it didn't click to me, it didn't make sense. And that's how it really got me questioning every single thing about my life, honestly. And I thought to myself, by looking around the environment that I was in, that I just could never allow myself to live this life, and I could never allow myself to settle for the environment that I was in. And honestly, it's still the environment that I'm in, but by pursuing the journey that would bring me to this lifestyle where I can live my dream life, I refuse to believe that life is all about doing things because you have no choice. Working at an office to earn a salary because you have no choice. Not working on your self-development because you're constantly focused on working for somebody else, or having to accept that this is what it takes to make money. I just couldn't bear it being my life because I knew that I was meant for so much more. I've learned so many things and I've seen so much of the world at such a young age that I refuse to have anything limit me or control me in any way. I made myself a promise that I couldn't settle for anything but my absolute dream. And I think now it's sort of become less of a dream and more of the bare minimum that I would accept. I found it ridiculous, and my little habits of just wanting to be better and to sort of just improve myself turned into a crippling obsession that I just can't let go of. And I think one of the really important things that happened to me is that in the process of wanting to set myself free financially, I ended up setting myself free mentally and spiritually. And most people never get to that point. But one thing that I understood is that the riches are born in the mind before it is born in the bank. And so setting yourself free spiritually and mentally, honestly, is much more valuable than anything financial at first. Because if you were to get money, right, just instantly like this, would you really be able to handle it if you didn't have any development in your mind? And because I'm putting myself through this journey where I'm learning these things, where I'm learning from my failures, it has transformed me in such a dramatic way that I've completely changed as a person. And there's quite literally no going back to whatever else I was doing or whatever else I was trying to pursue. Within my journey of entrepreneurship, and still to this day, every day to be honest, I find myself zoning out into my future life. And it's kind of weird because I can genuinely feel everything. I genuinely zone out like 99% throughout my day, where I'm just seeing and visualizing my future, and sort of feels like I'm living in it whenever I come into such a deep flow mindset. Whenever I get into that flow state where I'm zoning out, I'm genuinely seeing, living, and visualizing my future life, where I'm traveling, I'm taking care of my loved ones, helping people all over the world, and living my dream life, knowing that I did it. Just seeing myself working at a beautiful desk in a beautiful home and running a successful remote company that generates me cash flow and actually sets me free. It's much so less about anything materialistic. And yes, of course, I want nice things. Everybody does, right? But the thing that really hits me deep is the feeling of living that lifestyle that I always dream about, and knowing that I built it brick by brick. I genuinely have seen and still see myself zoning out into this future life and sort of living it as well. And I feel those moments in my mind, which sort of happens too often throughout the day. That's as far as delusion goes for me. And I think it's gotten so far to the point where I guess I can say that I've genuinely seen and felt my future. I see it as a message from God, and I guess you could call it insanity as well. But what I do know is that it feels real. And you can call it insanity at first, I don't really blame you, but I'm the only one who knows what it feels like. I'm the only one who has felt it. I'm the only one who has lived it. And that's why I started this YouTube channel, to look back on these videos and know that it was all real from the start. It feels so real and genuine, and it has changed my perspective on life in such a way where I can honestly never be the same person again. And there's no other path for me than the path to an extraordinary life. And yeah, I guess I'm getting all these different visionary rushes of my future life that makes me feel a certain way and that connects me deeply, but that's not even all, to be honest. Those are really just the thoughts that sort of constantly run through my mind, right? But I think the most important thing and the biggest change was that I took action on it. I saw the vision and I took action on it. And throughout this journey of me pursuing this and taking action towards these goals and towards achieving this lifestyle that I dream of and that I see in my mind, as my obsession grew, I was going through so many failures, I was going through so many tribulations, and I was learning so many things. I was learning so much about myself, I was learning so much about life, about entrepreneurship, and about my purpose. I've learned, seen, and experienced more than anybody should at my age. And therefore there really is no going back for me, because I've just realized too much. This entrepreneurial journey that I've set myself on has taken me so far that I can't see myself being anywhere else but in my dream life. I've gone through those endless nights of just working towards my dreams, and I still do. I've experienced every little win. I've experienced and gone through all of these setbacks, and it has changed me so much already. But I know that there are many more of these nights that I'm gonna have to go through, but eventually it would get to the point where I've changed and developed myself so much in a way where I would deserve to get every single thing that I've ever dreamed about. Because that's what life is honestly truly about in this entrepreneurial journey, is that you get what you deserve. It's all about becoming the person worthy of getting something, and your level of worthiness is correlated to what you're going to get. I still remember that one night that I was sitting in my room. It was dark and it was around 3 a.m. I had school the next day at like 7 a.m. and I was just sitting in front of my computer after I had hopped off a sales call, which I closed. I think this was with my second client. In that moment, my brain was foggy and honestly barely functioning. But the second I hopped off that call, I just saw visions of my future flashing before my eyes. And I was just staring at my screen and my mind was going all over the place. All I could think about were the words, "It'll soon be." It just kept popping in my mind. I'm not really sure why, but from that moment on, I knew that there was no going back for me, that I've come too far, and the only path and way for me to walk was this entrepreneurial path, where I ultimately focus on pursuing my dreams and nothing else, where I'm listening to nothing but this voice in my head. I'm 16, right? I'm still very young. I'm aware of that, and I still have a lot to go through. And honestly, I'm ready for it because I've set myself up on this path. And I guess it's also the fact that I sort of started this when I was 14 to 15. When I sort of realized that, when it sort of pops up in my mind, it gives me a moment to reflect, and I realize just how much I've already experienced with just these few tiny years compared to what else is waiting for me. I've always had that mindset of never settling for anything but the best. And I've set that standard up for myself. And I've gotten so used to that standard that I can't see myself being anything else than my fullest potential. The trauma that entrepreneurship gives you is probably the best trauma that you could ever receive, because it's truthful. It's hard, it's painful, it's miserable, but it's worth it because you go through the genuine process of developing yourself as a person and developing yourself into becoming a person worthy of acquiring everything it is that you want. And you become the person who's able to make money. You become the person who's worthy of respect from others. You become the person who's inspiring for others because of what you've done. And it's a hard journey, but I guess there's a certain point where you sort of realize that there really is no going back. Once you start, there really is no going back. And once you get to a certain point, that's when you realize, like, this is genuinely going to be the rest of my life. And the only way that this is going to go is probably up. I don't know, I guess some people may just be fine with learning the truth and going back and settling for less. I personally can't, and I just couldn't. This eager of wanting to pursue my truth and wanting to pursue my purpose is the only thing that truly feels right, and it's always felt right. I've always just followed this voice in my head and the sayings of God, because as I reflect and I look back on where it has brought me, I just understand that this is my path. You need to build up so much potential with yourself that it would be an absolute dishonor and disgrace to waste it or giving up on it, even if it means going through 3 to 4 years of absolute hell to develop yourself, because that's what it takes. That's what entrepreneurship demands in exchange for what you want. So please don't waste your potential, because your dream lifestyle is simply on the other side of work. If you manage to develop such a resilient mindset, you'll have the most powerful tool that can guide you to success. But for that, you need to be willing to go through the tribulations. You need to be willing to learn from the failures, and you need to settle for nothing less than this goal. That'll be the end of it though. I hope you got a lot of value from this video. I'm honestly just hoping to look back on these videos when I get everything that I've ever worked for. But it's also to inspire others, to inspire other women who who are pursuing themselves into this entrepreneurial journey to build their dream life and to reach their fullest potential. That's why I film these videos, and that's why I've built up this channel, to document every single step of my journey to success. I've still got a long way to go, but that's exactly why I'm documenting it. And it's to show the world that if you put your mind to it, and that if you tap into this mindset, you'll be able to win. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one.